Before a professional hacker, an ethical hacker, can even think about testing a system's defenses, they've got to map out the battlefield. They need to see the network in a completely different way, not as we see it, but as a collection of digital doors, windows, and hidden pathways. This whole process is called network scanning, and believe me, it's the step that turns a total mystery into a detailed blueprint for an attack. So that's the big question, right? How do they actually do it? How does an ethical hacker on a mission they're paid to do get this perfect, crystal clear picture of your digital world? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. We're going to put on their glasses and see a network just like they do.
So here's the game plan. We'll start with the hacker's very first step. Then we'll get into mapping the digital terrain, and then, the main event, a deep dive into the tool called Nmap. After that, we'll see how to decode what the scans tell us and wrap it all up with why this stuff matters so much.
All right, first up, the hacker's first step. You got to understand, professional hacking isn't just random chaotic typing. No way. It follows a really strict, methodical process to make sure it's effective, thorough, and of course, ethical. That process usually gets broken down into these 4 key stages. It all starts out super broad with reconnaissance. That's just gathering public info. But then it gets serious. It narrows down to scanning, and that's our focus today. This is the part where we're actively poking and prodding the target to see what's alive and what doors are open. Everything we find here feeds directly into the exploitation phase, which is when the vulnerabilities are actually tested. And finally, you are post-exploitation. So you can see, scanning is the critical bridge from knowing about a target to knowing exactly how to attack it.
Okay, so if we're going to map the terrain, we first have to speak the language of the network. And that language is all about ports, protocols, and handshakes. Think of these as the entry points and the rules of conversation for computers.
I love this analogy because it just clicks, right? Your computer is a house with literally thousands of numbered doors, or ports. You've got port 80 for web traffic, port 22 for secure remote access, and on and on. A network scanner is basically a tool that goes and systematically checks every single one of those doors to see if it's open, closed, or maybe being guarded by a firewall.
Now, not all conversations are the same. The 2 big protocols you'll hear about are TCP and UDP. Just think of TCP as a phone call. You dial, they answer, you both say hello, and then you start talking. It's reliable. You know someone's on the other end. UDP, on the other hand, that's like sending a postcard. You just drop it in the mail and hope it gets there. It's way faster, but there's no guarantee. For what we're doing, we're mostly focused on TCP, because that whole hello process gives us a ton of information.
And that TCP phone call has a name, the 3-way handshake. And you have to understand this to get how scanning works. It's simple, really. The client sends a SYN packet, which is basically asking, "Hey, you there?" The server replies with a SYN/AK packet, saying, "Yep, I'm here and I heard ya." Then the client finishes it off with an AK, and boom, the connection's made. By messing with this little 3-step dance, scanners can learn a whole lot about a target.
So, let's talk about the tool of the trade, Nmap. That stands for Network Mapper. It's free, it's open source, and it is the undisputed king, the industry standard for network discovery and security auditing. Nmap gives you a whole arsenal of ways to scan. The most basic is a TCP Connect scan. It does that full 3-way handshake we just talked about. It works, but man, is it noisy. It's like kicking the front door in. Everyone's going to see you. The most popular scan by far is the SYN Stealth Scan. This one is clever. It starts the handshake, but then hangs up before it's complete. It's like a digital knock and run, which makes it much harder to spot. And if you want to get really sneaky, you've got scans like the Xmas and Null scans. These send totally weird packets that can sometimes just slide right past older firewalls. The catch is, the stealthier you get, the less accurate you might be. So it's always a trade-off. Do you want speed and accuracy, or do you want to be a ghost?
But here's the thing. Just knowing what doors are open is only step 1. The real intelligence, the stuff that's truly valuable, comes from figuring out what's running behind those open doors. This is where a hacker goes from just mapping to actually decoding the target.
This little command here, the -SV switch, is a total game changer. After Nmap finds an open port, this tells it to go talk to whatever service is listening there. It sends a bunch of probes trying to get that service to introduce itself, revealing not just what it is, like a web server, but the exact software and version number.
And this is what it's all about. This is the gold mine. It's not enough to know, oh, there's a web server. The goal is to find out it's Apache version 2.4.29. Why? Because that specific version number is the key to everything. A hacker can take that number, plug it into a vulnerability database, and instantly see if there's a known, pre-made exploit just waiting to be used.
Next up is OS fingerprinting. The O switch tells Nmap to get even cleverer. It sends a bunch of special packets and then analyzes the target's replies. Turns out every operating system has its own unique little quirks in how it handles network traffic, and Nmap has this huge database of those fingerprints it can use to make a really good guess about what OS it's talking to.
The results basically act like a funnel. Instead of guessing between Windows, Mac, or who knows what else, the hacker might find out the target is running a specific version of the Linux kernel. This is just incredibly valuable. It lets them filter out thousands of useless exploits and focus only on the attacks that are known to work against that one specific system.
Now, to make life even easier, Nmap has what it calls an aggressive scan. That's the -A switch. Think of this as the all-in-one combo meal. It bundles together OS detection, version detection, some basic script scanning, and a trace route, all into a single command. Now, it's incredibly noisy and super easy to detect, but if you're doing an authorized test where stealth isn't your main goal, it's an amazingly efficient way to get a ton of info all at once.
Okay, so at this point, the hacker is sitting on a mountain of data. But here's the secret. Raw data isn't a penetration test. The real skill is in looking at all that output, connecting the dots, and turning it into a prioritized plan of attack.
This is how all that raw data becomes a real plan. In a typical report, findings are sorted by how bad they are. That old, outdated web server we found? Yeah, that's a high-severity risk. Some minor piece of information that leaked? That's probably low. This kind of chart immediately tells a client, okay, focus here. These are the fires you need to put out first.
So let's just zoom out for a second. We've seen the how, but let's get back to the why. Why is this scanning phase the absolute bedrock of any good security test?
Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. It provides the attacker's blueprint. Before you scan, the network is a complete mystery, a black box. After you scan, it's a detailed map. You have every door labeled, every piece of software identified, and the operating system revealed. It's the foundation for every single thing that comes next.
And with this blueprint in hand, the next steps just become logical. It's not guesswork anymore. The hacker will search databases for code that targets those exact software versions they found. They'll try default usernames and passwords on any services they discovered. Every single action from this point on is informed by the data they got from the scan, leading them straight into the exploitation phase.
And really, that's the magic of it. Scanning takes the total chaos of an unknown network and transforms it into a clean, prioritized list of weaknesses and targets. It's the art of turning questions into actionable answers.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Every single device you own that's connected to a network is constantly being scanned by someone, somewhere. So the real question isn't if your network is being mapped, it is. The question is, what does that map reveal? What doors did you accidentally leave unlocked?